welcome to another episode of Pilots Say What, where we get to hear what pilots have to say. And today we'll be sitting down with Ian. I'm excited to talk to you as well, similarly to Mac, because you're early in your journey, but I really like the idea of focusing on what pushes you to get started, especially at a certain point in your life when you maybe could have started earlier or you could have waited. And I want to know what kind of made that thing click. But we'll also get into some of the work you did before this and how it maybe some of that plays into where you're at now.
Sure.
Before I get into anything, though, I have a few questions for you. The first one being, would you mind introducing yourself? Would you mind introducing yourself for anyone to kind of get to know you a little bit?
Sure. So my name is Ian.
Mm-hmm.
Born, raised in Texas. Been in Dallas majority of my life.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I love cars, planes, anything with an engine, pretty much.
Yeah. Awesome. Did you do things around engines, cars, or planes before this?
Well, I actually worked for Tesla and Lucid Motors before this.
Okay.
And I was actually in sales for both of those companies. And so that was kind of my way of like being able to work around my passion for cars, and kind of get my hands around my favorite things,
Right. And I think that makes sense. You just want to work adjacently to your interests,
Exactly.
right? That makes sense. And this is kind of was that for me too. I get to do a lot of what I really like here. But even before then, before you got a job in it, was there like a hobby that kind of allowed you to explore your interest at all?
Good question. So like with Legos, I love Legos,
Mm-hmm.
and so I always built these model Lego cars. So I buy a set from Lego first, of course, right?
Awesome.
But then later I just take it apart, and build my own thing instead.
Yeah. Honestly, Legos are something that I've wanted to get into in my adulthood that I haven't yet to do because I know I'd like it. Did you ever play with Connects? Remember Connects?
I do remember Connects, yeah.
Yeah, Connects were my favorite thing when I was a kid. I just wanted to make those and Bionicles, things like you had to little
But
make.
yeah, Bionicles
Yeah,
too.
Bionicles is pretty cool. So that's interesting. I always thought I was gonna be someone who worked on things and put things together in that kind of way too. I guess I do that now, but not so mechanically.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's go back a little bit further. And before I ask you, about what got you into aviation, a little more context. So I'll ask, what is something that you think people should know about you in order for you to feel kind of like they understand you?
Ooh.
Really broad question.
Yeah, really broad question. Yeah. For me, I feel like I'm just a regular person, honestly. I have always had interest in planes since I was little. And I think a lot of people come from the part like they think like, oh, aviation's not something I can do because it costs so much, the amount of time it takes to get into it. I got to go this really high end school, to get into it. And truthfully, that's not really the case. And that's really what kind of helped me to figure out this is doable for me. A lot of people say the cost is the biggest thing, right?
Right.
I didn't even know that loans existed. You can get a loan to go to school. And so that really helped me to kind of get that hurdle out the way. Everything else is something that I could just really easily overcome.
Right. That makes sense. And I'm sure some of your sales positions have kind of helped you understand how that works
That too, yeah.
Okay. So I guess the other question I would have is there anything that you feel like the people who are closest to you tend to get about you that maybe a stranger wouldn't understand?
I'm very detail oriented. Very detail oriented. And I think about the littlest things that people that doesn't matter. I don't care about that. And to me, it really bothers me.
Yeah.
And so, for example, like I mentioned, I like things that have engines, cars, trains, ships, plane, things like that. For me, we love going on cruises as a family, right?
Okay.
People like to go for destinations, right? I go because of the ship. To me, I'm impressed by how this gigantic metal box can float on the water, and it has its own, water plant to like desalt the water. It's got, its own power plant to power everything, all that stuff, and it moves,
Yeah.
Those things really intrigue me. And so, same thing with cars. That's why I want to work with cars, because I get to be around the thing that I just love so much and tinker with it. When it's slow inside the showroom, I can just go and sit in the car, put settings and stuff. Go to the service center, look at them pulling a battery out of a car. It's just cool to see.
I like that you can find that interest in those kind of things. I think about that with the overpasses here in Dallas.
Yeah.
I'm like, wow, we made these. And I think about that with planes too. When I'm on a flight, I think my girlfriend probably gets annoyed with me because I probably say the same thing every time. I'm like, can you believe this thing flies? And she's like, can you not talk about it?
Here. Yeah.
I mean, there's a metal tube, and she's like, yeah, but I don't want to think about it.
Yeah.
So that's cool. Okay, so do you remember maybe the first time you like had an explicit interest in aviation or planes or boats or anything like that?
Uh, I was little, probably like 5, 6 years old.
Hmm.
And we went to San Antonio. We went to SeaWorld.
Okay.
And just getting on that plane, it was a Southwest Airlines 737.
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
Getting on that plane, I was like, well, like, what is this big thing? It just this big blue tube.
Yeah.
And then we're pushing back, and you hear the engines roar up. My mom was like, "You hear that?" I'm like, "Oh, what is that?"
Yeah.
Like it's just low like growl of like, and feeling. I was like, "Ooh, that feels amazing. That feels cool."
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's where it really started. I think.
Yeah.
And then we would constantly go visit Founders Plaza in DFW Airport, and we would just like go watch the planes and see the planes there
Yeah.
taking off and landing. It was just living here has been nice because we have that so close to us. I can just go up there if I want to watch planes.
Yeah, and the DFW was aviation hub, and I
Yeah.
didn't know that either until I started getting involved in aviation.
Mhm.
So, okay, so let's fast forward a little bit. Was there like a time when you took your first step towards maybe learning more, or even moving towards some sort of career in aviation?
It actually kind of happened by chance, which
Mm-hmm.
is interesting. I was kind of getting a little bit tired doing the sales thing with cars. I love the job, but it's just I want something different. I
Yeah,
want
yeah.
to really not feel like I have to work. Um, so my cousin and I, we actually just went to DFW about a year ago or so,
Mm-hmm.
for this particular case, and we got invited to the aviation day at DFW Airport.
Okay.
And so it was crazy. The social media guy, Josh,
Uh-huh.
he was like, "Hey, you guys want to come to our event?" I was like, "What is this for?" And he was like, "It's for yeah, we're celebrating Aviation Day at DFW Airport." I said, "Oh, heck yeah, I want to go.
Yeah.
This is perfect timing, perfect place, perfect time to be there, right?"
Right.
And so yeah, we get to go, and American Airlines hosted the event, and
Mm-hmm.
it was just being able to go into the hangars and see a 787 and a 737 in for maintenance, and get to board them as well. I
Mm.
got to sit in the cockpit of a 787. I was like, wow, like I yeah, I want to be here. I
Yeah.
want to fly this thing. And so that really kind of sparked the new, I guess, journey
Mm-hmm.
to look for options for myself to move forward with that.
What is it about? I always wonder this too. But what is it about being in an environment that is all centered around that thing that kind of pushes the envelope? Like, what is that? I'm curious. Do you have an idea of what maybe made it more interesting
Mm,
just by being in that environment?
I think seeing how real it is,
Yeah.
because I've never been in the cockpit of a 7-8,
Yeah.
never. And that's why I really want to fly when I get to the airlines. I want to fly the 7-8.
Okay.
And so being that close to it, getting to board it, and walk through the whole plane, and seeing the crew rest area in the upper part of the aircraft, I was like, wow, this is all real. It's all real.
Mm-hmm.
Got to sit in the seat as well, in the captain's seat as well. It was so surreal. But I think part of it, there's just this weird, at least for me,
Mm-hmm.
operating heavy machinery just seems really cool.
Mm-hmm.
You
I
know,
think that's pretty cool. That makes sense to me. Let me ask you quickly then. Is there something about the 7.8 that makes you want to fly it more over any other option that you may have?
it's a very elegant plane to me,
Okay.
and I love design as well too. So
Okay.
of course detail, but also design as well, and then
Hmm.
how the details, sorry, design plays into details as well. And so I love how the wings.
Hmm.
There's one thing on the 7A is like it's a predominantly composite aircraft, right?
Hmm.
It's mostly like carbon fiber, the carbon reinforced plastics and stuff.
Yeah.
So it's a very flexible plane. The wings are very flexible, and that's why they do flex so much in the air.
Okay.
It's just a very pretty plane. I like
Yeah.
pretty things too,
That one
and so
fascinates me.
I just
Okay.
I just want to fly that because it's just a pretty plane.
Yeah, no, and I like the way you talk about it too, because and I also like the way you kind of allude to design being more than just the way something looks. Because I'm gonna completely misquote it, but it became relevant again with the last Apple launch. Steve
Yeah,
Jobs said that something like design isn't just the way something looks or something like that. He said he alluded to design is also how something works.
right.
And I think that plays a role into it. And so, like you said, there's gonna be different materials. The wings are flexible. It plays into a lot of what it does. Now I can't follow too much on the plane talk, so I try to learn in this way,
Yeah.
and maybe one of the listeners or viewers can pick up what you're talking about right now. Okay, so uh, let's say you're in high school now, and you're kind of like, I, I don't know. When I was in high school, there's a lot of talk about college, but I
Yeah,
didn't really understand why I needed to go to college or what I wanted to do with college, and my family didn't really talk to me about it.
right.
So I'm curious. Did you have an idea of what you wanted to do coming out of high school? Were you thinking about going to school and things like that?
I did,
Hmm.
and honestly, didn't was not aviation at all.
Yeah.
I want to be a car designer before,
Okay.
and so
Awesome.
I was like, oh, I'm gonna go to school to do car design. Once I figured out, you know, how competitive that industry is, I was like, ooh, maybe not this so much. And so I graduated not knowing fully what I wanted to
Uh
do,
huh.
but I said, just get a regular degree, and just get business, something like that, just so I have just a general. I'm more hireable in that case, right?
Hmm.
Um, and so, yeah, I went to school, kind of part time, to get my associate's degree in business, and then my human resources degree as well too.
Okay.
But it's interesting because while I'm going to school, uh, I got approached by a recruiter working for Tesla,
Okay.
and I was at North Park Mall, and they're like, yeah, you should work for Tesla. You like cars, you like technology. Come work here. I was like, is that an option? I'm only 18. They
Yeah.
said, yeah, age is hiring is 18. I was like, oh, okay. And so yeah, I applied and I got the job somehow.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I was there for 5 years and I really enjoyed it. And it was working with my love of cars, and then being able to go to school at the same time. I felt like I was very efficient with my time. It feels like, because
Hmm.
now I've left that, and now I'm here and I have a degree, and I'm able to go full time into this instead.
That makes a lot of sense to me that you end up. It's so cool that you end up, I guess, somewhere like Tesla when you were interested in designing cars at some point, because obviously they were very forward thinking and a lot of
Very
design
forward
choices.
thinking.
Yeah. Did any of that play into what you kind of are learning now and your interest in aviation though, working at like Tesla and you said Lucid?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think with Lucid more so because
Okay.
they're very very focused on attention to detail,
Okay.
and the customer experience too.
Okay.
And I think having that higher level of luxury
Mhm.
and attention to detail
Mhm.
plays into aviation, because
Mhm.
as pilots, you're not only are you a meteorologist, you are a doctor, so to speak.
Mhm.
You're also a host. You're flying an aircraft, you have passengers on the plane, captain speaking,
Right.
and so you have to be able to, if you talk to your passengers before they get on the plane as well too, you're making them feel comfortable, because
Mhm.
right this day and age right now, flying is stressful for a lot of people,
Yeah.
because what they've seen or heard and whatnot. And so
Mhm.
I think having the person who is in control of the aircraft comfort you is makes you feel more at ease when you're a passenger.
That makes a lot of sense to me too. And I do. I was on a flight recently, and seemed like the crew was having a good time, as if they knew each other more than I know they did, because you don't normally know each other that well.
No, yeah,
But I can't remember what it was, but they were having a good time. They weren't very rigid. They were
yeah,
kind of joking, and you could hear the guy. He was having a good time on the intercom or however you call it, the speakers.
yeah,
So I agree with that. It was made it a more human feeling kind of experience.
yes.
But you think that, but that's what you're imagining, kind of like that attention to detail, that kind of thinking. You think that plays into what you're doing now a little bit more, right?
I think so, very much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's go back to, you say coming out of high school. You kind of go to college for a little while, and you're working at the same time.
Hmm.
Um, and then at some point, I guess what I'm wondering is what happens next. You're in college. You're working at Lucid, and did you go into aviation after that?
Yes.
Okay, gotcha. So leading up to that, I
Yeah.
guess, can you kind of explain where you're at? I guess either mentally or even just like in life, that kind of makes you go, you know what, it's time to pull the trigger. And I know you mentioned going to that the thing at DFW,
Yeah.
but yeah, tell me a little bit more of what it was like leading up to that.
I honestly wanted more from life, really.
Yeah.
Um, Again, like I loved my job at Lucid, and then Tesla, but I wanted to do more. I wanted to travel more.
Mhm.
I want to experience more things in life.
Mhm.
And the income I was making was not going to allow that.
Yeah.
So I said, what can I do to where I can afford to travel more and live more?
Mhm.
And I said, well, why not fly a plane? Because you
Right.
get paid to travel, and you love planes.
Mhm.
So two together makes the one.
Absolutely.
And so that kind of really got that spark kind of going,
Yeah.
essentially. And that's really where, between that kind of thought and then the event at DFW, that really helped me kind of get to on the path to start looking for schools more seriously,
Mhm.
and kind of led me to thrust.
Gotcha. And is it, and maybe this is before we move on, I just want one more thing here. Um, it's, I guess you get to a point where you're at a job maybe or doing something where you're like, you start wondering, okay, what am I going to do next?
Yeah.
And maybe some people are like, oh, I'm just going to move forward with what I'm doing. But then in those instances where you're like, I know it's going to be something else,
Yeah.
it kind of starts like a little seed, right? And it kind of
Yeah.
tends to just grow somehow, but then it just takes something to push it over the edge, right?
You're right. And honestly, I knew I didn't want some things in my career.
Okay, yeah.
I didn't want to necessarily be a manager of a team.
Mm-hmm.
Because see, my manager, he was never off work.
Mm-hmm.
What you're salaried, and so your hours can be random and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
And I hated bothering him his off days if he needed something at the store.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, I don't want to call him.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't want to be in his shoes, basically.
Right.
Respect the man, respect the job as well too. But I
Yeah.
didn't want to do that.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And it's just interesting how people think. I guess the reason I asked this question or bring this up is because it seems like if you're people will say if you're not doing anything about it, it's not going to happen,
Exactly.
which I think is true. But at the same time, it takes a sec. It's okay to let something fester a little bit,
Yeah.
and then that thing comes along and it makes you want to. It initiates the next move.
Yeah.
And so when you go, what is it called one more time? The thing at DFW.
Founders Plaza.
It's Founders Plaza.
Yeah.
And what was the event called?
It was just the spot. It was DFW Summer of Spotters event, and they're doing like celebrating the Aviation Day,
Okay.
and also it was also their 50th anniversary too, actually.
And their 50th
Yeah,
anniversary.
that's
Okay,
right. For the
gotcha.
airport. Yeah, it was
Okay.
last year.
So you go to an event like that, and it's very in line with that little seed that's been sitting there for a little while.
Yeah.
And then you feel that spark. So what's the next action you take?
So after that, I'm like, yeah, I gotta do this. I have to go to flight school. I have to do it. How do I get to this job?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm looking online, researching schools, and trying to see, I quite a few options here in North Texas, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I go start looking,
Yep.
and then also helped out my cousin,
Mm-hmm.
works for JSX, and he actually went to a school up in Denton for his aviation mechanic license,
Mm-hmm.
essentially. He's now in operations at JSX, so he's moved up now at this
That's
point.
awesome.
But he said, I asked him, "Hey, where can I go for flight schools? Like,
Yeah.
I don't know where to go. You're in aviation. What options do I have?"
Mm-hmm.
He said, "Well, you got the one at my school. You can go to. But also I've heard good things about this school over here at Addison called Thrust." And I was like,
Mm-hmm.
"Oh, okay." So I looked up, of course, his school. And I looked at Thrust as well too. And then the one that's like the really big one that everyone talks about.
Uh-huh.
I didn't have the best experience with that one, so I'll leave that there. But
You didn't attend, right? You just
no, I didn't
maybe looked
attend.
into it
Looked
and
into
you
it, talked to
tour.
some people. Was
Okay.
like,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm
Okay.
good. But
Okay.
then came to Thrust. Of course, watched actually your podcasts.
Okay. Awesome.
About a year, before
Okay.
around the time I went to the event.
Mm-hmm.
And so getting to meet people at the school and seeing how real the school is and the environment, the community that we have here,
Mm-hmm.
I was like, yeah, this is a front runner for sure.
Mm.
Did some research as well, looked more into about the loans for financing the program too,
Right.
comparing all different options at different locations, schools, and this is
Mm-hmm.
just for me ended up being the best choice.
Okay, gotcha. Well, and it's good to hear that you did see the podcast beforehand. You said like about a year.
Yeah.
So did it take maybe about a year's time between that event and maybe like actually like moving forward?
Yes.
Gotcha. And was that just research and figuring out and
Mhm.
savings and things like that?
You research savings, and then just figuring out what route I want to take.
Hmm.
And I want to do Part 61, take it as I go and pay for it as I
Okay.
go, or do I want to just go ahead and jump headfirst into the pool?
Yeah.
I have friends from my previous job as well that were also in flight school, but they're doing the 61 route, right?
Okay.
And that's all good and fine, but I'm like, I don't want to get passed over. When the hiring comes up, I want to be able to get in the door. So I
That's
said,
right.
I'm gonna go ahead and just jump in.
Yeah, that's really awesome. Okay, and that's a big decision.
Yes.
It's not an easy decision. Uh, when it comes time to actually getting started, you've done your research. You're like, I think thrust is going to be the way to go. I guess two questions. First, did you watch a lot of the podcast, or just like an episode, or how did that go?
Oh, I was an avid watcher
Oh, okay, okay,
or
gotcha.
viewer, I
That's
could
really
say.
cool.
Yeah.
Okay, I always wondered because I didn't know. I'm trying to figure out who it is that really watches, and if it's interesting to people who have yet to start or what. So hey, if you guys are listening right now and you're on YouTube, it'd be great to find out. Where you're at. Are you a pilot yet? Are you training? Or are you kind of just thinking about it? I would comment in the bottom and see if we can get a conversation going. I'd love to see where different people are at with their
Yeah.
decision making process. But um, Okay, but then the next question is, it comes time to actually like, hey, sign up, get a loan, and quit your job, right?
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
what was that like? What was that process like, and how did it finally happen?
For simple words, it was terrifying. I have I have never quit a job without having a job lined up before
Mm,
to go to after, and so it was very different. But family was super helpful in
mm,
the situation. Um, I did need a cosigner. I did,
mm-hmm,
which is most people do, so that's not a bad thing.
mm-hmm.
But it really took a lot of convincing for my dad to be like, what's in it for me?
Right.
He wasn't really like that, but he was like, I want to get a free flight, something. I need something, right, to make it. And I was like, it's fine, Dad, it's okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, family was very instrumental. They were encouraging me to say, follow your dreams, do it.
Uh-huh.
My Uncle Joe, he's like, do it, nephew, do it. I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, thank you, Uncle Joe. He's very passionate.
Yeah.
So he's rooting for me in the back, and quitting my job. My team was actually very, very supportive, very
Mm-hmm.
supportive. Honestly, more than I thought they would be.
Mm-hmm.
Because coming from corporate, typically it's like kind of a it's all about me kind of world.
Uh-huh.
But at Lucid, no, everyone was like, yeah, do it, follow your dreams, we'll support you,
Mm-hmm.
and they made it very easy for me to pass on my clients to other people in the team.
Mm-hmm.
So I still had support no matter what. So it
Mm-hmm.
was a very easy transition. It was just terrifying, is all.
Right, right. And then I like how you mentioned how they were supportive, even though it's easy to assume that maybe they wouldn't be.
Yeah,
And I think when someone's serious about something that they're gonna do to kind of like move on, I think it's pretty easy to get behind that.
yes,
And if they all knew what you were doing, I'm sure you talked to them about it a lot.
all the time. Yeah, like, you in the air today? I'm like, yeah, sure I am.
Yeah,
Here's a
exactly.
selfie.
Okay, so okay. Was there any difficulties in the getting started process? I mean, you talked about needing a co-signer, and that's nice that your dad ultimately was supportive about helping you out there because that's not an easy thing.
No,
I mean, it's hard to even ask
yeah.
for something like that. It's
Oh,
a
so
big
yeah.
because he's included in the risk on you, and he's just all on you. So,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
but was there anything else that was difficult about the signing up process that you had to kind of like maneuver and that maybe someone else could like learn from?
Yeah, I would say the medical is actually one thing that was a little bit a little concerning at the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
Um, just our family history, we had to do some more digging into that to make sure I wasn't like predisposed to like things that would really disqualify me from being a pilot.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it took about it was about 2 month delay, I would say, from when I wanted to start
Mm-hmm.
versus when I started due
Okay.
to the medical.
Okay.
But some things like with like blood, liver, for example, too, as
Mm-hmm.
well.
Mm-hmm.
Um, some cancers in our family, but
Right.
that after a thorough checkup with multiple doctors, like, you're good, you're
Yeah.
fine. So I was like, okay, good, I'm greenlit to go.
Okay, gotcha. And is there any advice you would have for anyone else if they're like thinking about, oh, I'm a little nervous about the medical, like that they could do beforehand?
Um, honestly,
There's
I,
only so much you can do, really.
there's
But
like, yeah, almost much, yeah, because
yeah.
sometimes like you're predisposed to
Hmm.
things you can control. I would say definitely staying fit, working out.
Hmm.
Cardio is important
Hmm.
because your heart is very important.
Hmm.
As a pilot,
Right.
um, eating right
Right.
as
Right.
well
Right.
too.
Gotcha. Did you have your like paperwork in order?
Yes.
Because that's something I don't have in order. So that's why I asked that. I'm like still getting used to using my insurance, that sort
Right.
of thing.
Yeah. I think for me, coming from where I used to work from, the two companies that I worked for,
Hmm.
having the clients that I had and what we all had to do to get their cars ready for them to take home for delivery,
Mm-hmm.
I'm just used to like doing paperwork, things like that for them and stuff. So this was light work for me.
Okay, gotcha. And then one other question before we move on that I definitely want to kind of ask: is there anything that you learned about the world of loans and how that works that helped you maneuver and understand applying for a loan for flight training?
Um,
I mean, did you have a good grasp on that stuff before you worked at your previous jobs?
Oh yeah, yeah. So
Yeah.
like with cars and stuff, but also I watched your Sally Mae videos too.
Okay.
Yeah, I
Okay.
watched those both parts.
Hmm.
That really helped a lot as well too.
Okay.
And how like similar it is to car loans actually.
Hmm.
A lot higher interest rate, but it's
Yeah.
very similar
Uh-huh.
to car loans. So that wasn't so much of a hurdle. I just didn't know they existed. That's the thing.
Okay, okay, gotcha. And I actually had someone on the podcast a handful of months ago now, and he's working with I think the FAA,
Oh
and they've created like something called like an entity called Aviation Start or Start Aviation,
yeah.
and they're working on basically being a resource to help find funding, whether it be grants or loans or whatever it may be, to help
Hmm.
people get scholarships, things like that, all for aviation.
Wow.
And the idea is to, yeah, just be a resource to help people try to fund their flight training and
Yeah.
continue trying to find a way into the career path. So that's, there's a couple resources on our channel, guys. If you're listening or if you're a viewer right now, check out our Sally Mae interview. It's 2 parts with Sergio. He's a rep from Sally Mae, so we got some good details out of him. So I'm glad that you got some details out of that. And then we also have the one that I just mentioned. What was I? What was it?
Start.
Yeah, Aviation Start.
Yeah.
And I'm not remembering the gentleman's name right now off the top of my head. But we have some good resources on these podcast episodes. So dig around for those, and I'm sure those will help out with some things. Okay, you're starting aviation by starting flight training at Thrust.
Yes.
As it's your first day. What is it like? Are you nervous? And is there things you learned on your first day?
Very nervous.
Yeah.
No one likes being the new guy, right? No one likes being where at school, your work, whatever.
Yeah.
And so I was very much like kind of keeping to myself.
Uh-huh.
But interesting enough, Mac is in my class or my start group, right?
Okay, gotcha.
He's very vocal, very
Yeah.
high energy,
Yes, he is.
and he immediately broke the ice for everybody in the room. And so I appreciate that about Mac, is that he kind of helped make it a more comfortable transition to go to school, to come to Thrust rather. Some things I learned, it's a very serious career or job, right? But it's not as serious as I thought it was.
Yeah.
In a good way.
Uh-huh.
Like say, fast forward now in the planes, right? And on the comms, they're always like, "See ya." I'm like, "Oh, that's actually real. I thought that was just like in videos I see on YouTube, but it's actually a real thing."
Yeah.
And then all the Top Gun references are hilarious. There's
Yeah.
so many of them that we do, that they make in training, in the air, on the ground. I'm like, that's crazy. Like, you guys are a bunch of nerds. I am too, but it's like, it's crazy.
Yeah, it's its own world.
Yeah, it's its
Yeah.
own little world.
Yeah.
But I'm having more fun than I thought I was going to have.
Oh, that's really great to hear. Is there any other things that are like that? I mean, since the first day, that you're like, wow, this is just more fun than I thought I would have.
More book work as well.
Okay.
Than
Yeah.
I anticipated. But not a bad thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that the flying part, I thought it was more like, say, 60% book, 40% flying.
Uh-huh.
No, it's more like 15% flying. The 85% is book work. I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
I was good in school.
Yeah.
I just didn't like my math classes.
Yeah. I understand.
and I wasn't the best at geography, which you would think you would need that to be a pilot,
Right.
because geography, like, you know where you're at, right?
Yeah.
But no, all things being said, like, it is there's some parts that are more difficult than anticipated, but overall it's a much better experience than I thought I could ever imagine.
So you mentioned that you get here and you kind of realize what it's like, the references, some of the jokes that are made, the things that are like actually consistent with what you see online, and that it's a little more fun than you thought it was. I guess what I want to ask is, what did you kind of expect? I guess, yeah. How do those things kind of contrast what you maybe expected? I know it probably wasn't a rigid idea, but I guess I'm curious about how it turned out to be contrasted with what you expected.
When they say Part 141 structured syllabus, I'm thinking like it's something like the Army. I'm like, oh gosh, what am I signing myself up for? But no, it is. They're not there to hold your hands. You're an adult. This is like kind of like college, so to speak, right? But there's a clear, I guess I want to say, like, time frame.
Yeah,
everything?
I think there's a clear structure, layout,
Structure, yeah.
framework.
Yes, very much so. And so you're not like they're not forcing you to follow it, but you're strongly admonished to do so, right? And so it's you're encouraged by your instructor, by your classmates. You're studying together, helps you kind of stay within this up, keep each other up, right? It is less. I guess I'm thinking of 61. Honestly, that's the more like just go as you want. You gotta. Your teacher has a toothpick in his mouth. Just like it's whatever. But this is very much like it is. Do this today. This is our goal today. I want you to go home and look at this. Study your maneuvers guide. Look at your FAR aim, and then we're gonna come back tomorrow and review what you just went over the day before, right? Yeah, it's just I appreciate the structure. I think that's what helps me more. I couldn't do 61.
Yeah,
because I'm the kind of person, I don't need handhold. I don't need that. But I just need to, like, what do you want me to do?
Exactly. A little direction goes a long way for me personally. I'm not necessarily one I like to work independently. I like to work off my own ambition.
Yeah.
I'm not maybe the best person I'm not the best at self-policing maybe. and I think I can overthink what direction to go in. So a little guidance goes a long way.
Yes.
I always ask these kind of questions because I think it's hard to understand the kind of the the system you find yourself in, because
Mhm.
it is different than college. It's different than a corporate job. It's different
Mhm.
than like what you imagine a Part 61 is.
Yes.
It's a little different because it's very personalized. You are kind of on your own timeline, but
Mhm.
with a lot of guidance, with a lot of resources. You do set your own pace, but there
Mhm.
are expectations, and so it's kind of hard to put into words, I think, for the
It is.
viewers.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you watched for a year and you heard people describe it, but yet
Mhm.
it's still like, how do you?
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, I watched for a year, like still can't put my words to it.
Yeah, yeah. So, I guess one other thing, I guess, moving forward is um, what has been one of the most difficult parts to adjust to, and you kind of mentioned, studying and things like that, but
Mhm.
is there something about it that you're like, oh, I've had to adjust my mindset?
Definitely the like attitudes for sure. I'll just be honest. Like we have a hazardous attitude is something we learned about in private stage, and you go through your entire career with it.
Right.
And these things like impulsivity, resignation, macho, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't realize how much of those attitudes that I actually had. I'm working on it, but for example, one thing we talked about, we were learning about is how to do like certain maneuvers in the air, right?
Right.
For example, I'm trying to think right now. Um, Essentially, there's some maneuvers that are more specific to like general aviation,
Okay.
and like not like the bigger airliners, right?
Okay.
In my mind, is like I'm set. I'm going to airlines. I'm flying a 787 or 777,
Yeah.
and I'm like, I'm learning about flying a little small plane. What does that matter? I'm trying to go to the big planes.
Yeah.
But I've had to like really be corrected by my instructor and my classmates.
Uh huh.
Be like, no, that's the wrong attitude. Like this all applies to the big planes because even though you might not ever hit that performance limit, for example,
Mm-hmm.
something could happen to where it's like you need to do a quick correction. If you're not coordinated, you're gonna stall or you're gonna spin,
Right.
right? So
Because the behavior still applies regardless.
yeah,
Yeah.
still things like you have lift, weight, and drag still apply, and thrust.
Right.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Apply to both small planes and big planes.
Yeah.
So it's like even though they're different, they're still very very similar.
And I relate to that, having to, it almost feels like, I've been stubborn in a lot of ways. I consider myself open minded, but I found myself stubborn in ways when it comes to like realizing the importance of something that is fundamental. I
Yes,
guess that was kind of
I'm
a
the same
mouthful,
way.
but yeah. But I think fundamental. I think it's the fundamental thing.
Yes.
It's like realizing that that carries on.
Hmm.
Yeah, and also I guess you'll be flying the general aviation for a little while.
Yeah, true,
so
true.
so
Yeah, I'll be here at least. I'll be doing this at least 2 3 years or so. So I better get used to it and comfortable with it now, instead of being like, oh, I'm just doing this to get to the end goal.
I can see myself thinking that way though. So you mentioned those attitudes. Are those things that are actually like almost standardized, broken down, and kind of something that you're able to like? It sounds like a psychological
Uh-huh.
like piece of work.
No, it is. It
Yeah.
is. So it's part of our, like I said, part of our training to learn about them and understand what they are.
Hmm.
Um, it's not necessarily required to like do a self reflection, but
Yeah.
it's recommended to.
Yeah.
And I've always been good at like knowing like my faults and like my shortcomings.
Hmm.
I had no problem, at, saying them and letting people know about them and whatnot.
Hmm.
But I think learning that about myself, that because like kind of you, I thought I was open minded too, like, oh yeah, it's kind of fine to play, but
Yeah.
no, it's actually not the right attitude in some instances to have.
Yeah.
This is all important to learn. It all should have equal attention.
Hmm.
If you're struggling in one area, yeah, give more attention in that case to it, but
Right.
don't treat it like it's not important.
Gotcha. And is there? I guess I'm just I'm still very curious. So, like you mentioned, like macho, and then what were some of the other ones?
Impulsivity and resignation are
Gotcha.
the other two. There's a total of five. I know them. I'm just
But off the top of your head right now
yeah,
is a little
yeah.
intense. But either way, I guess those words, when I hear them, there's a lot of implications behind them from what I can imagine.
Yeah.
Is there any examples on how any of those like are kind of taught to you
Yeah.
in your training?
So like impulsivity, for example, is like just do it, get over with. I'm gonna do it now. Like
Hmm.
you gotta land the plane. I'm not set up yet. The flaps aren't in just are not out just yet. I don't have my barometric minimum set.
Hmm.
Whatever, just put the plane on the ground. Get on the
Hmm.
ground. Then you have resignation. It's like, oh, what's the use? There's no point in this. Like kind of like I was thinking like, what's the point of learning stalls? Like, but
Yeah. Yeah.
then macho is like, you can tell you what. Oh no, sorry, that's different. Anti-authority is like, you can tell you what to do. I'm listening
Yeah.
to you. Like I'm
Uh-huh.
the boss of this plane. I'm the captain.
Right.
Um, so there's that as well too. And so like learning those, um, and seeing like I'm more part of like the thing resignation.
Yeah, you
I
felt
get
you
that more.
noticed that one.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
what's the use, you know?
Yeah.
But I'm learning to fight that mentality and be like,
Mm-hmm.
no, there is a use for it.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, like you can learn. You're not helpless. It's if you're getting stuck on something, just get tutoring, to help you get past that hurdle.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. I think I'll explore those a little bit more on with some guests because I also want to hear a bit about the impulsivity one. I can see myself. I always feel I'm easy to get in a rush sometimes,
Uh-huh.
and then that will like trigger the impulsivity, and I'm like, well, I just got to get it done, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes finish is better than not, right? But not necessarily in aviation.
Right.
So
No, no.
aviation's a lot more procedural.
Yes.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
Okay, what's your favorite? What's one of the favorite things you've been learning about? What's one the thing that makes you feel most enlightened or kind of excited you a little bit, or maybe it was a maneuver?
Hmm. Oh, maneuvers.
I mean, you're about 2 months in, right?
Yeah,
So
2 months in.
okay, yeah.
It's interesting. So I haven't gotten there yet, but I think I'm more excited for instrument training.
Mhm.
Because on top of my love for planes, I do fly my flight sim a lot
Mhm.
at home. I have like the Microsoft Flight Sim,
Mm.
and so I'm always flying the 777.
Okay.
And that I'm just that big plane. You don't usually fly that VFR. You usually fly IFR, right? And your
Yeah.
flight rules and stuff. So I'm used to like seeing like I putting in the FMS, using the charts that I have a subscription from Navigraph that I use on my iPad to like put the charts on my iPad so I can see what I'm putting into the FMS.
Okay.
Yeah, all things. So
Yeah.
I'm excited to start instrument to see like how this works in a real plane in real life,
Right.
right?
And
So
kind of like put it into practice.
yes.
Yeah, and I hear that's always I mean, I think I kind of understand the ride that people go through now at this point, at least objectively,
Mhm.
from private to instrument to commercial, because it's very different mental games. I feel like,
Yeah.
and you have to switch context pretty quick in an
Mhm.
accelerated program like this. So, given that this is an accelerated program, what about it being fast paced? Have you kind of observed so far? Is it difficult that it's fast paced? I mean,
Mm,
how do you feel about the speed of the program
I mean,
so far?
definitely is difficult for
Yeah.
sure. It's not easy by any means,
Right.
but the I think to an extent I'm kind of used to it.
Mhm.
Coming from the jobs that I came from, we have end of quarter rushes. You gotta get these cars told and delivered, right?
Mhm.
And so I'm used to like being in a fast paced environment, right?
Right.
And for me, maybe the way I drive to, I'm like, get out the way, you're in the way, So I'm also just I like getting to where I'm getting to, um, with haste, right?
Right.
Safely, of course.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I like the fast paced program. I like it, keeps on my toes. There's no chance for me to get relaxed and fall behind or fall away side because I'm just like chilling out.
Right.
I'm always working, always moving, always going.
That makes sense. And I think personally, I need a that feels like a push to me. It keeps
Yeah,
me accountable.
yeah.
How do you handle? Yeah, like how do you keep yourself accountable? Is it just through peers, instructors, yourself? What are things that you do to kind of stay on track and focused?
It's but for sure peers help
Hmm.
a lot. But also I just have my own personal standard. Like I want to be done with ratings by a certain time.
Okay.
I'm trying to be done with private by the time we end September is my
Hmm.
goal.
Hmm.
And so far I'm kind of on pace for that. So
Okay.
that's kind of my own like internal clock that I'm using to kind of keep me on pace as well.
Okay, gotcha. That works for me sometimes, but I have to be really interested in what I'm doing. And I guess that's the benefit of what you're
Yeah.
of what you're doing now. You're in a place where like you get to kind of participate in a whole world
Mhm.
rather than just kind of like in a machine somewhere else in a job.
Exactly.
I
Yeah.
guess that makes sense. I've been trying to find a way to compare the difference in the lifestyle you're living now
Mhm.
versus a job that may be like a corporate job or a retail job or whatever. What's the difference in yeah, how do you feel different? What's the difference in lifestyle?
The it's the same thing over and over again at like retail corporate, right?
Hmm.
It's never, aside from like an event we may do here and there, like for the cars or whatever, it's just the same thing every day. Someone walks in, I want to buy a car, great. Here you are.
Right.
Um, this is some may argue that this is also, repetitive. You're getting up early in the morning, go fly a plane, gonna go to the destination, right?
Hmm.
And this other thing. But the YouTubers that I follow that are pilots and I follow them on YouTube, and I watch like they vlogs, and it's always something new. It's
Mm.
always different. It's never each day is never the same.
Right.
It's always different. You may have a different delay here. You may have different, weather situation here. You may have, you know, different kind of passenger situation. Hopefully not like too bad, but
Yeah.
things like that, right?
Hmm.
And so I don't know. To me, being able to travel and see different things,
Yeah.
you, nothing compares to that.
Yeah.
I'm not sitting in an office in a cubicle, or sitting in a showroom for 8 hours a day.
Hmm.
So it's that's just how my mind works. I feel like this is a much better.
I'm wondering, I guess, since because I can imagine it. I mean, what you're saying makes sense to me. But since you're in training now, do you still get some of the benefits of the lifestyle change already, or you feel like you kind of have to hold on to that until you get to the destination?
You gotta hold out a little bit,
Yeah.
but even now, like it's no day. Each day is different. Even
Right.
today,
Right.
I've had cases where I have backseat flights,
Hmm.
and I haven't yet backseated an instrument flight. I want to,
Hmm.
but I backseat other like students that are private as well,
Okay.
and seeing kind of where we're at, and experiencing the maneuvers in the backseat is different from being in the front behind the plane.
Yeah.
It's very different, and so those things like that, doing things like that to kind of make your training um, less repetitive
Yeah.
and less like just going with the flow, like that helps,
I think that I like what you're saying there because yeah, I think about it now, even with like my job here
Mhm.
or any job I've had. I've always tried to challenge myself. Okay, but what can I do? What can I do in my position to kind of like not just mail it in,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
and how much does that really make a difference? And so to what you're saying right now, um, why do you think it makes a difference to maybe look forward to the backseat of a instrument flight versus just kind of doing what you got to do? What's the kind of the difference of just coasting versus what you
Mm.
said a moment ago?
By having something to look forward to,
Uh-huh.
it gives you that little nudge or that
Mm-hmm.
kick to keep going, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because if you don't have anything to look forward to, it's like, what's the resignation? What's the point?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It makes it to where you're not enjoy. I think you should really enjoy being in flight training.
Yeah.
One, you're paying a lot for this, right?
Yeah.
And then two, you quit your job, so
Mm-hmm.
this is now like your new thing. So
Mm-hmm.
one, you need to be passionate about it, and two, it needs to be something you look forward to doing each day.
Okay. Okay. And I think that makes sense. I hear that from a lot of pilots. Um, that brings me to I think some of the harder questions, and which I think are probably a good way to kind of go out on. And I'm always interested to hear about the money because it's a hard thing to do.
Uh-huh.
People are worried about the industry.
Yes.
People are worried about the large loan
Hmm.
and whether or not they're going to be able to pay it off or even start making payments when they're being asked to make payments.
Right.
And there's like a moment there after flight training, right, before you get to the airlines where maybe you're not making that much money, but you've already you need to start paying this big loan. And so I like to ask questions. It- did that intimidate you at all to the point like how did you overcome that intimidation of the money side of things?
That was a big intimidation.
Hmm.
Like what if I don't get hired? What if I don't, make it?
Hmm.
And the way I look at it, and the way my dad also told me too, is like you can do anything you want to do, put your mind to it.
Hmm.
A lot of parents, tell their kids that, right?
Well, it's
Um,
nice to hear, and maybe a lot of parents don't tell their kids that too.
oh
So
well,
yeah,
well, yeah. Well, he
so
at least told me that at least,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
And so for me, knowing that I'm investing in my future,
Hmm.
I don't know. It felt like even though this was something that was scary, I was like, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna make it. I have a lot of people that didn't think I'll be able to do this. Become a pilot. Whether it be for the medical or for like just the money part, or that they think, oh, you're not smart enough for it. I'm like, well, I'm gonna do what I can to prove you wrong, because I know what I can do,
Hmm.
and I know what I want to do, and I'm gonna do that. And so for me, looking, to outlook on the career and everything like that, between reports that Boeing has put out, Airbus has put out, the airlines themselves, they have a lot of retirements coming up in the next few years or so,
Hmm.
and so it kind of lines up with people that are training right now, be pilots, across the country, right? And so there's going to be plenty of space for everyone that's
Hmm.
currently in training, even those even behind us too, to become a pilot as well.
Right. Is there a scenario in your mind that you imagine, like, what could you imagine would stop you from getting to where you want to go?
I mean, a lot of things. One thing that I'll say on the personal side, maybe I just become unable to hold a medical,
Hmm.
for
Hmm.
example. That's why I'm doing everything I can to make sure I stay healthy,
Hmm.
to where I don't have that. There's less likely of that happening.
Right, right. And because to me, it sounds like you're like, well, I mean, it seems totally achievable, and there's really nothing that is outside my control that says I can't do this. Right.
Right.
And but I'm imagining there's still a few things you're like, I don't really know how I'm gonna do X, Y, and Z yet. I don't really know what it's gonna look like once I'm a CFI and I have to
Yeah.
get a
True.
job where I'm gonna live.
Very true.
Um, so. do you just kind of accept that those are going to be obstacles along the way when you decide that I'm gonna just gonna figure it out?
Yeah, because honestly, nothing you how do I want to say this? Nothing you really, really want
Hmm.
is without risk, right? And so I know it's a risky career because one thing it's flying is safer than driving a car, but anything can happen, right?
Hmm.
And so that's always concern that people have too. So like when you hop on a plane, you're putting your faith in that pilot. The
Hmm.
pilot's still putting faith in the plane. Well, mechanics that work on the plane, as well. And so
Hmm.
it's a lot of risk um, involved with everything. And so
Hmm.
it's like, well, I'm gonna be living my life. I don't want to live my life afraid of risk. I don't live my life in fear. So
Right.
same thing. It's like I'm kind of just coming by the wayside, kind of seeing where things go. I know what I can control right now in front of me and myself,
Hmm.
and whatever happens in the future happens in the future.
Right. And I asked that. I like asking you that because you seem like you did your due diligence. You looked into like what you're gonna do and how to get started, what school you want to go to,
Yeah.
and you think things out. Sometimes it seems like at least a little bit.
Oh yeah.
Uh,
I'm a thinker. I
right.
overthink things a lot too.
And so I just find it interesting because this isn't an easy decision to make for someone who is thinking something all the way through, because it is obvious that some things are going to be difficult.
Right.
And I think that's where some people stop. But I think the people who really want to fly make the decision anyways.
Mm-hmm.
And I always really interested in trying to figure that out because I talk to a lot of people online and there's a lot of comments. They're like, bad time to start flying, or the
Yeah, I see
industry is
that.
this, and there's lots of negative things, and I hear them, and I there's some validity in some arguments, but then I'm thinking, well, people are flying every day, people
Yeah.
are getting hired every day,
Yeah.
so I guess I'm
One
so what's the difference?
one thing I was thinking of too is like, if not now, then when?
Hmm.
And it's like if I don't start, sooner,
Okay.
um, because it's a very cyclical industry, right?
Hmm.
So say you have a cycle that's have a wave that they're going to start hiring, right? Great.
Hmm.
Say you missed that, okay, that's fine. If you go ahead and get into it now,
Hmm.
by the time the next wave comes, you're already ready to go. You have your
Right.
hours, you have your training, you're done. You're just ready. All you do is just, hey, resume. Oh,
Hmm.
great, they'll take you up.
Hmm.
So that's just the way I think about it too.
Right.
If you can't get the current one, people say, "Oh, wave's over, it's over." We'll have more waves. There's not just one wave at a beach, right? You have
Right.
multiple waves coming in. So that's
Right.
just the way I think about it.
Okay. Okay, gotcha. And I have a, I guess this is the final question. There might be like a one sub question afterwards, but um, back when you were at your job, and maybe after you attend the event, you're like, this is something I'm gonna figure out how to do, and it takes a little bit of time to get your ducks in a row, or at least most of them.
Yeah, yeah.
um, what are some of the things that popped up and made you think, like, did it ever occur to you that maybe you don't want to do it? Like maybe I shouldn't. Did you consider not going to flight training?
Yes, I did. Yeah.
Yeah, and why?
It's kind of actually kind of funny.
Yeah.
My first my disco flight, my
Okay.
discovery flight I did with Thrust. Um, it was bumpy. It was very turbulent. Being in that small plane like a mosquito up in there, you just move around. So I'm like, I don't want to do this. I don't know if I can do it. I didn't get sick, but
Just
I
you're
don't
not
like the
comfortable.
yeah, I don't like the negative G. I hate negative G's. I hate it.
Yeah.
I hated it. Now I'm okay with it now, but at the time I was like, I don't know if I want to do this because this is. But it's crazy because I had actually Evan was my disco pilot. It was
Okay.
Evan instructor. It was Evan,
Yeah.
and he's like, "You're doing great, man. You're awesome." I'm like, really? I feel like I'm doing. I feel horrible.
Yeah, I did not feel good. Yeah.
And so I was like, yeah, okay, maybe I can still do it. I don't know, but at that time I was like, nah, I don't want to do it. But then I went back to work the next day.
Hmm.
I was like, I gotta go. I gotta get out. And this is
That's crazy how what sounds like almost a disappointing experience
yeah,
still seems like light years above the
that's
where you
exactly
were
right.
at.
Yes, yeah. I'd rather be tossed around in a little airplane than again, like I said, love my job, love my previous job, great team, amazing company. Just the dealing with like the same like kind of customers every day is just yeah,
Yeah, that's a good point of view, and I think for anyone who's listening, I guess that's why I asked. There's plenty of people who are just like, oh, I don't know, I wanna fly, but we'll see,
yeah,
And it's hard to quit a job,
it is.
when you're making money and you're being self sufficient, and you're a productive member of society,
Yeah, yeah.
and then sit there and say, I'm gonna take a big risk and see what happens next,
And
and
you're right because another thing
yeah,
too, little not to like top myself up or whatever,
yeah,
but I won the top salesman award
okay,
for Q2 of this year, and everyone was like the leadership and up in corporate was like, where are you going? Why are you leaving? What's happening? And I was
hmm,
like, nothing against you guys at all. I want to fly a plane.
Yeah.
I want to go fly. So
Wow. Yeah.
and travel the world. So that it's they were sad to see me go, but we had we had a great little going away party for me. So
Mhm.
it made it, like I said, it made it to where it was less of a I'm abandoning those, more so like I'm just moving on to the next bigger things.
Right. Well, it sounds like you're probably going to be coming up on your one of your first check rides
Yeah.
soon. So I want to say good luck on that and congratulations on beginning your journey. You're about 2 months in. So I just had Mac on the last episode, and
Yeah.
I could see that you see how you guys are maneuvering through training, and you guys are in similar places. So
Hmm.
I'm excited to see how you guys move along in this program because it is fast paced, and I think the viewers at this point and people on YouTube on our other pieces of content, I really think that they're going to be interested in seeing how people do move along.
Hmm.
We're going to do a little bit better job at kind of being journalistic in that way.
Yeah, I like that.
I'm excited about that personally. So and you guys are probably some of the people I've talked to the most in terms of who's early in their program. So and talking to you guys, I have a lot of faith that you guys are gonna push and you're not just gonna fall out of the program or something
Yeah.
like that. So
Well, one, because I don't want to. I'm not a quitter. And then
yeah.
number two, all that money that I spent to be here, no, I'm gonna.
Exactly.
I'm gonna go
Okay.
through.
That's what I thought. Okay,
Yeah.
gotcha. Before we end, any advice to anyone who's thinking about starting flight training or maybe even to your past self?
Um, count the cost, whether it be financially,
Hmm.
mentally, physically, materially. Count the cost. Because if you do not have a plan, it will not go well for you.
Hmm.
Not a threat, but just have a plan,
Yeah.
and
Take
it'll make it
decisions.
less stressful. It'll make it less of a trial to get through. It'll make it to where it's actually fun, because it should be fun.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. Well, thank you for joining us, Ian. It's been nice to talk to you and get to know you. We haven't really got to know each other, but obviously, I think I'll see you around the school a
Oh, for
bit
sure.
more. And it's cool that you got to see this podcast like for a little while, and
Yeah,
then now you
from
get
a
to be on
viewer,
it.
now I'm on it.
Yeah, it's full circle moment, so
Yeah,
that's pretty cool. And full circle moment from when you were younger, you did like planes, and here you are.
there I
So
am. Yeah,
I'm glad you're flying, and we'll I guess we'll have to catch up soon.
yeah.
For the viewers and the listeners, if you guys are still present, you're still listening, or still watching, hit that subscribe button on YouTube. It's really helpful. Otherwise, leave a comment and start a conversation down there. We get those going every now and then, and especially our listeners on our streaming platforms. It's really nice when you hit a rating for us. We really don't have a lot of ratings yet. And if you guys are interested in getting a discovery flight with any flight school, just simply Google discovery flight near me. Doesn't have to be thrust. We want anyone who's thinking about flying to give it a try. Obviously, if you're anywhere near a thrust flight, we have 4 locations. Come check us out, and we'll be happy to take you up in the air and let you take control of one of the Piper Archers. It's a good time. And until next time, well, I don't have it until next time, but I'll see you guys next time on the next episode of Pilots Say What, where we get to hear what pilots have to say. Thank you.